The air in the Silver Spoon Diner hangs thick with the scent of old coffee and frying bacon. It is a place unstuck in time. Sunlight streams through the large plate glass windows, illuminating dust motes dancing in lazy circles over red vinyl booths and chrome-edged tables. In a corner booth, away from the few other patrons, sit 6 men. They are an island of black leather and faded denim in a sea of pastel work uniforms and casual Friday polos. They are the sons of Odin. Their presence shifts the diner's gravity. Conversations at other tables are a little quieter. The clatter of cutlery seems a little louder in the ensuing silence. Their vests are their resumes, stitched with patches that tell stories of long roads and hard miles. Skulls, ravens, cryptic acronyms that mean the world to them and nothing to the civilians watching from the corners of their eyes. At the head of the table sits their president, a man they call Bear. His frame is immense, filling the booth, but his movements are deliberate and calm. A thick beard, more gray than black, covers a jawline that looks like it was carved from granite. His hands, scarred and tattooed, rest around a simple white coffee mug. He does not speak much. He does not have to. His gaze is enough, a quiet assessment of the world around him. Beside him is Preacher, the club's sergeant-at-arms. Leaner than Bear, with eyes that seem to see right through flimsy excuses and polite lies. He is the strategist, the thinker. The others tank a mountain of quiet muscle. Ghost, thin and wiry with a face that remembers ghosts of its own. Rico, younger, sharper, always coiled. And Pops, the oldest, the road map of his life etched into his face, form a silent, formidable circle. They eat their pie and drink their coffee. A moment of peace on a long journey to nowhere in particular. Sarah, the waitress, a young woman barely out of her teens, approaches their table with the coffee pot, her steps hesitant. She had been terrified the first time they came in weeks ago. Now, she knows their orders by heart. Black coffee for everyone, 2 slices of apple pie for Tank. More coffee, gentlemen? She asks, her voice a little shaky. Bear nods slowly, a slight, almost imperceptible smile touching the corner of his eyes. Appreciate it, ma'am. The words are a low rumble, like distant thunder. She fills their cups, her hand trembling just a little as she reaches past Tank's massive shoulders. They are polite, always polite, but their sheer presence is a disruption of the natural order. They are wolves resting in a sheep pasture. The peace is shattered by the frantic chime of the bell over the diner door. It is not a customer entering. It is an invasion. A small boy, no older than 8, bursts into the room. He is a whirlwind of pure panic. His feet are bare, smudged with dirt and asphalt. His jeans are torn at one knee, a fresh scrape weeping blood onto the denim. Tears carve clean tracks through the grime on his face. He stands in the doorway, chest heaving, his breath coming in ragged, desperate sobs. The diner falls completely silent. Every eye turns to him. Help! He gasps, the word swallowed by a sob. His terrified eyes scan the room, passing over the startled faces of the other patrons, the concern on Sarah's face, the manager peering over the counter. He is looking for something, for someone. His gaze lands on the corner booth, on the 6 men made of leather and steel. He sees the size, the strength, the danger that everyone else fears. But in his child's mind, terror recognizes power. He does not hesitate. He runs, his bare feet slapping against the linoleum floor. He runs straight to their table and skids to a halt beside Bear. Please, he cries, his small hands grabbing a fistful of Bear's leather vest. You have to help me. He took it. Bear does not move. His eyes, however, shift from the boy to the window, then back. Easy, son, he says, his voice softer than anyone in the room would have thought possible. Catch your breath. Who took what? The man. The boy sobs, burying his face in the rough leather. He stole my bike. My new bike. He put it in his car, and he drove away. Preacher leans forward, his expression serious. What man, kid? Did you see him? Before the boy can answer, the bell over the door chimes again. This time, the entrance is calm, controlled. A man steps inside, pausing to let his eyes adjust to the dim interior. He is the perfect picture of respectability. He wears a tailored gray suit, a crisp white shirt, and shoes so polished they reflect the overhead lights. His hair is perfectly styled, his smile practiced and reassuring. He looks like a politician, a lawyer, a man of importance. His concerned eyes scan the room and land on the boy clinging to the biker. A look of profound relief washes over his face. "Oh, thank goodness," he says, his voice smooth and cultured. "Now, there you are." He walks toward the table, his steps measured and confident. "I'm so terribly sorry for this disturbance," he says, addressing the entire diner. "My name is Mr. Albright. I'm a family counselor working with Leo. He has episodes, tends to get confused and run off." The boy, Leo, flinches at the man's voice. He presses himself tighter against Bear's leg, a low whimper escaping his throat. "No," he whispers. He's lying. Albright reaches the table and offers a condescendingly sympathetic smile to Bear. "Thank you for corralling him," he says, his eyes flicking over the club patches with disdain. He fabricates these elaborate stories. The stolen bike is a new one. It's a cry for attention, you understand. He reaches down to place a hand on Leo's shoulder. "Come on, Leo. Let's go. We don't want to bother these gentlemen any longer." A large, tattooed hand lands on the table between Albright and the boy. It is not slammed down. It is placed. A quiet, unmovable statement. It is Bear's hand. "He's not going anywhere," Bear says. The words are not a threat. They are a fact. Albright's smile tightens. "I'm sorry, I don't think you understand. I am his court-appointed guardian for the day. This is an official matter. You are interfering." Preacher leans back, crossing his arms. "He seems pretty scared of you for a guardian." "He's a troubled child," Albright says, his voice taking on a patronizing tone. "He has oppositional defiant disorder. It's common for him to react this way to authority figures who set boundaries." The jargon hangs in the air, designed to intimidate and confuse. It does not work. Bear's eyes never leave Albright's face. "What kind of bike was it?" he asks, his voice still low and even. Albright blinks. "I'm sorry." "The bike," Bear repeats. "The one he's fabricating. What's it look like?" A flicker of annoyance crosses Albright's face. It doesn't matter what it looks like. It doesn't exist. It's a fantasy to process his trauma. Bear shifts his gaze down to the top of Leo's head. "Now, tell me about your bike." Leo peeks out from behind the leather vest, his sobs quieting to sniffles. "It's blue," he whispers. "A Stinger. My mom just got it for my birthday. It has a silver bell and a shiny black seat. The detail is sharp, clear, not the product of a confused mind. A blue Stingray," Preacher says, his eyes narrowing on Albright. "You sure you haven't seen it?" "This is absurd," Albright snaps, his composure beginning to fray. "I have a schedule to keep. Leo, we are leaving. Now." He takes a step forward, trying to assert his authority through proximity. Tank, who has been silent until now, simply shifts his weight. The movement is small, but makes the floorboards creak. It is enough to make Albright halt. "He said you put it in your car," Bear says, his voice relentless. He's confused. Albright insists, his voice a little higher now. "Then he said you put it in a storage unit," Bear continues, his gaze like a physical weight. At the mention of the storage unit, a new wave of fear washes over Leo. He trembles. "He said he was taking me to the park," Leo whispers, his voice gaining a sliver of strength from the wall of leather around him. "But he went the wrong way. He went to the place with the big orange door. He put my bike inside. He locked it." Leo looks up at Bear, his eyes wide and pleading. "It was Unit 113, he says, the number clear as a bell. I saw it. 113. A specific, verifiable detail. This is the moment the air changes. The midpoint shift. Suspicion hardens into certainty. The bikers exchange a look. It is a silent, seamless communication perfected over a decade of riding together. They are no longer observing. They are now intervening. Preacher subtly pulls out his phone under the table. His thumb moves quickly over the screen. "You're upsetting him," Albright says, gesturing at the boy. "Your aggressive posture is triggering his anxiety." "He looks fine to me," Rico says, a cold smile touching his lips. "Looks like he found some friends." Ghost, silent as his name, stands up. He doesn't say a word. He walks to the counter and murmurs something to Sarah, the waitress. She nods, her eyes wide, and picks up the diner's phone. Albright watches this, a bead of sweat tracing a path down his temple. What are you doing? Who are you calling? You have no right. Just checking on the weather, Preacher says without looking up from his phone. Big storm of truth might be rolling in. Preacher finds it first. He says to no one in particular. There's a used store with big orange doors 2 miles down Route 9. Funny. Albright's face pales. He takes a step back from the table. This has gone far enough. I am a respected professional. I will not be harassed by... He trails off, gesturing vaguely at their vests. By this. I'm calling the police. No need. Bear rumbles, finally looking away from Albright and back to his men. Ghost already handled it. Ghost has slipped out the back door of the diner. No one saw him leave except his brothers. Now, all they have to do is wait. The tension in the diner is thick enough to cut with a knife. The other patrons are frozen, watching the drama unfold. Sarah stands by the phone, twisting the coiled cord in her hands. Albright is trapped. He cannot approach the boy, who is now fully shielded by Bear and Tank. He cannot leave, because the other 3 bikers form a casual, impassable barrier. He is a wolf, surrounded by bigger wolves. My office will hear about this, he sputters, trying to regain some semblance of control. My lawyer will have a field day. You're looking at kidnapping charges. What's the name of your office? Preacher asks, his tone conversational. Albright Family Services, the man says automatically. Can't seem to find it, Preacher says, holding up his phone. No listing. No license. Nothing. The mask is slipping. Albright's polished veneer is cracking under the pressure of their calm, unwavering scrutiny. His breathing becomes shallow. His eyes dart toward the door, calculating. Just then, the back door opens. Ghost steps back inside. He looks at Bear. He gives a single, sharp nod. That is all it takes. Confirmation. The bike is there. The boy was telling the truth. Albright sees the nod. He sees his entire, carefully constructed world collapsing. Panic overrides his intellect. He bolts. He shoves a chair aside and makes a desperate dash for the front door. He never makes it. Rico and Pops move with a speed that belies their size and age. They don't tackle him. They don't throw a punch. They simply step into his path. An immovable wall of leather and resolve. Albright crashes into Rico's chest with a muffled grunt. He stumbles back, his eyes wild with fear. Get out of my way, he shrieks, his voice a high-pitched, desperate sound that bears no resemblance to the smooth professional from minutes before. He tries to push past them. It is like trying to push through a brick wall. Bear stands up slowly, his shadow falling over the frantic man. The diner seems to shrink around his presence. I told you, Bear says, his voice a low, dangerous growl. You're not going anywhere. The wail of a siren grows in the distance, getting closer. Sarah had not called the weather. She had called for help. The front door opens, and a uniformed police officer steps in, followed by a detective in a worn trench coat. The detective stops and surveys the scene. The terrified man, the wall of bikers, and the small boy hiding behind the largest of them. The detective's eyes meet Bear's. There's a flicker of recognition, of understanding. Bear, the detective says, his voice weary. What have you gotten into this time? Just enjoying some pie. Miller, Bear replies calmly. This gentleman was just leaving. He was trying to kidnap my son. A woman's voice cuts through the tension. A frantic woman pushes past the officer. Her eyes lock on Leo, and she rushes forward, scooping him up into her arms. Now, oh, my baby, I was so scared. Leo clings to her, the dam of his bravery finally breaking as he sobs into his mother's shoulder. She had gotten a call from Sarah at the school. The story about a wellness check had been flimsy enough to sound an alarm. Detective Miller turns his attention to Albright, whose face is crumpled in defeat. Mr. Albright, I believe we need to have a talk. As the officers cuff the now silent counselor, the full story spills out. Albright was not a counselor. He was a volunteer at a community center, a position he used to identify and stalk vulnerable children. He had groomed Leo for weeks, learning his routine, earning a sliver of trust with small gifts and promises of fun outings. Today was the day he had chosen to act, luring Leo away from the park with the promise of a new video game. The stolen bike was just part of the ruse, a way to get the boy and his belongings into his control without a struggle. The storage unit was his base, a cold, dark place where unspeakable things were planned. The boy's courage, his desperate flight into the diner, had saved him. His instinct to run to the most intimidating people in the room had been the perfect, unscripted defense. He ran from a hidden monster to the visible ones, and they had proven to be his guardians. With Albright secured in the back of the police car, Leo's mother approaches the bikers. Tears of relief stream down her face. I don't know how to thank you," she says, her voice thick with emotion. "You saved him. You saved my son." She opens her purse, her hands shaking as she fumbles for her wallet. "Please, I have to give you something." Bear holds up a hand, stopping her. "No, ma'am," he says gently. "We don't take payment. But you have to let me do something," she insists. Bear kneels down, bringing himself to eye level with Leo, who is still clutching his mother's leg. The big, bearded man seems to suck all the chaos out of the air, creating a small pocket of calm around the boy. "You were brave today, Leo," Bear says, his voice a quiet rumble. "Braver than most grown men I know. You did the right thing. You asked for help." He reaches up and carefully unpins a small patch from his own vest. It is a simple patch, a silver wolf's head on a black background. He holds it out to the boy. "This is for you," he says. "So you remember that you have a pack now. You're one of us. No one gets to mess with you ever again. You understand?" Leo looks at the patch, then up at the giant gentleman. He nods, a watery smile finally breaking through the tears. He takes the patch in his small hand and holds it tight. "Thank you," he whispers. The bikers gather their things, leaving cash on the table to cover their bill and a generous tip for Sarah. They file out of the diner as quietly as they came in. The other patrons watch them go, their expressions no longer filled with fear, but with a dawning sense of awe and respect. The sons of Odin get on their bikes, the chrome gleaming in the afternoon sun. The engines roar to life, a chorus of controlled power. As they pull out onto the highway, Bear glances back at the diner one last time. He sees the small boy and his mother standing in the window, watching them go. The boy holds up his hand, the small silver wolf patch clutched in his fist. Bear gives a slow, single nod, then turns his eyes to the road ahead. Their code was simple. Protect those who cannot protect themselves. Be the monsters that other monsters fear. Today, the code had been upheld. 1 year later, the Silver Spoon Diner looks exactly the same. The same red vinyl booths, the same smell of coffee. The sons of Odin sit in the same corner booth, a familiar ritual. Sarah, the waitress, approaches their table. There is no hesitation in her step this time. She smiles warmly. "Good to see you boys," she says, placing a fresh pot of coffee on the table. "Got something for you." She hands Bear a crisp, white envelope. His name is written on the front in neat cursive. He raises an eyebrow, but takes it. Inside, he finds a photograph. It is a school picture. A boy with a bright, gap-toothed smile stands proudly, his chest puffed out. It is Leo. He is standing next to a brand-new, gleaming blue Stingray bicycle. Bear turns the photo over. On the back, in a child's careful, printed letters, is a message. "To my friends, thank you for saving me. I ride my bike every day. Lao." Tucked into the envelope with the photo is a small, slightly crumpled drawing of 6 burly stick figures on motorcycles, riding under a smiling sun. Bear looks at the photo for a long moment. A quiet understanding passes through him. This is why they ride. Not for the freedom of the open road, not for the rebellion, not for the fear they inspire, but for this. For the moments when they can turn their intimidating presence into a shield for the innocent. He passes the photo to Preacher. Preacher looks at it and a rare, genuine smile touches his lips. He passes it to Tank, who grunts in approval. It makes its way around the table, each man looking at the smiling boy, each man reaffirming the unspoken oath that binds them together. The photo finally comes back to Bear. He carefully tucks it into the inside pocket of his leather vest, placing it close to his heart. "Appelle Manon Romandi." a receipt for a debt that was never owed. He drains his coffee mug and stands. The others follow suit. They leave their money on the table and walk out into the bright sunshine. The world still sees them as outlaws, as dangers, as men to be avoided. Society judges them by the leather and the ink. But they know who they are. They're the sons of Odin. They are the guardians on the fringe. And they ride on. Their engines a rumbling promise, searching for the next cry for help on a long and lonely road.